Hello everyone, I am Varidhi from Careers 360. Quite recently, schools swung back to operating offline after almost 2 years of back and forth between online and offline working owing to COVID. So through this principals roundtable titled Post-Pandemic Anxiety Among Students, we aim to gather views of academicians about the challenges faced by students and teachers during and post the lockdowns, how they are being tackled, and preparedness for the future. We are very happy to have with us for this discussion Ms. ANJU, Principal, Shivnadar School, Faridabad, Mr. PRAKASH SAHOO, Secondary School Principal, Sai International School, Bhubaneswar, Ms. VEENA GOEL, Principal, APJ School, Pitampura, Delhi, and Ms. ALKA KAPUR, Principal, Modern Public School, Shalimar Bagh, Delhi, who is yet to join us. Thank you so much for sparing your time, all of you, and joining us today. I would like to begin with knowing what has been your experience as principals, as teachers, in the past few months of lockdowns and then switching back to offline schooling. What have been the main challenges? How have you tried to cope as an institution, and so on? Ms. ANJU, if you would want to start with this.
Thank you, and good afternoon to the panel here. Also, it's a pleasure being here with all of you this afternoon and sharing our stories together. I would like to just expand it, not just to challenges, but also insights. When we started full-scale operations, quite oiling the engine of a school from intermittent, offline, hybrid, etc. I'm certain all schools prepared to their utmost, preempted things. But when the school did begin as a regular 8 to 3 or 8 to 1, whatever the timing is, there were certain surprises in store for all of us. Let me also focus on certain positive developments, because we've talked at length and at depth and breadth of the challenges and concerns. So if it's okay, I want to expand this a bit. Yeah, is that fine for me to expand this a bit, right? Though your topic says anxiety, I also want to talk about development and growth. 2 years before, we sent out students, locked them in their homes, and we imagined we are going to get the same student back or same human being back, right? But that's not the case. Children we parted ways with physically in 2020 March have come back where we thought we had left off, if that's their knowledge. But they've come back, many of them, as blossoming researchers, looking at research as an habit. I'll focus on 3 or 4 very, very telling things which we have noticed in our own student community. How their knowledge building blocks have grown, how personalized learning has become quite the key of their intrinsic learning model. You know, they have adapted, of course, to the whole tool of the tech space, but that's not their goal. Their goal is to find out, be curious, be imaginative, and restructure their role in the world. So they have become, I see them more reflective, more curious. They have discussions with me, which I didn't know they knew. All the, a 12-year-old would come and now talk about religion and democracy and the whole epistemology of knowledge, debunking, validating, scope of beliefs and opinions. So here are some facts which are also authentic, on ground, and very, very positive developments. In the special needs of children requiring more support and to be enabled by teachers who are specialized in that area, we have seen great development. And we actually populated that data in our school. And what is that development? Away from sensory stimulation, sometimes our classrooms are overtly sensory stimulated, whether it's sound, whether it's visual, charts, kids around, and to a certain quietness of learning. So we've talked about lack of focus, which is also a reality, and low attention spans. And we see these children who have been able to focus, concentrate because of the quietness perhaps that they needed in a classroom environment or in a learning environment. Quickly circling to anxiety, of course there is a lot of anxiety and I think the words we see 2 years before, there was a very conscious need to use words like stress, anxiety, or depression by parents, even teachers and children. Now they're used very loosely. So small triggers become big mountains. So where we think the children will show a lot of resilience, they show that they're really fragile. And they have shown otherwise great adaptability and resilience dealing with grief in the last 2 years. I don't think any generation would have dealt with this level of fear of death and separation as they have seen it so up close and personal. And you are full of admiration for this generation, this group of students. And also they have seen up close the cracks in families. For them, for many of them, school being a very, very secure haven, they missed it. And when all the time they were boxed in, and they thought mommy and papa never fight, they never have arguments. So somewhere they saw the cracks, which haven't really been a pleasurable experience for them. They have questioned relationships. Somewhere, for some of them, their faith has been shaken in how their parents interact and interface and live with each other as two adults and not just as mommy and daddy. I think it's not just a two-pronged story, it's a multi-pronged story, because education by itself is such a complex, interconnected animal. I mean, here is this whole intellectual, rational content and body of knowledge. And as an educator, you have to bridge it and bring it to a child who is full of, who's an emotional experiencing human being. And in the lockdown and after the critical functionality of the school has been resumed, those are major challenges for teachers. So we have recognized that, and I think that's the first step in doing something about it. I'll pause so that we may hear other views.
All right. Thank you so much, Anju ma'am. So, VEENA ma'am, would you like to share with us your opinion about the same?
I think Anju ma'am has said it all, and where she talks about exuberance of children and how they become self-learners in these 2 years when they were sitting down and independent researchers, etc. This is true for all categories, all schools, I say. But yes, we also have a section of students where we find that that is the area one has to work with, and one does find that there are large learning gaps for that segment of students, because of course the parental support may not be enough, and of course the child was not physically with their teacher to help, and an isolation syndrome did set in during this time for quite a few. And I think one has to not only work on academics, but also take care of the mental and emotional health of such children. First, get them out of it, and then work towards the core, the academic part of it. So it is very important, and it is very profound in the foundational and preparatory level of students. We do find the children are unable to relate. 2 years has been type of a vacuum. When we say the children have flowered and they have worked independently. That could be true for, I would say, more towards the middle schoolers and the high schoolers. But I think the primary level, a lot has to be done post pandemic. They require that love and emotional support in school by their teachers, etc. So a lot of work in terms of some capacity building programs for teachers, where we initiate them into how to not only be a subject teacher, but also first tackle the emotional need of the child. Post that, the other things would automatically follow. So role of a teacher as a surrogate mother somehow has become very important. Role of school counselors have become very important. Yes, the families have undergone tragedies in these 2 years. Every household has had something or the other which has somewhere impacted the young minds, and there is a need to get these children out of it. A little sharing has to be done in this aspect. This is very, very important. And post that, of course, we see that personal touch which somehow went missing. I think what we see is most of the children, they are so proficient in typing on their gadgets, etc. They've forgotten the art of writing, and so I think that is another area where we need to work with them. So it will not happen overnight. There'll be a lot of work. You'll have to understand the learners, what is their requirement, some individualized approach, or some collaborative work, the peer system, etc. So they would have to do it, because if there were many families with nuclear families with mother and father working and the children were left to themselves. So those are the categories where those are the children who have been most affected by this. So this is what I would like to say. A lot of work will have to be done. Results may not be achieved overnight. There will be a proper action plan. I think all of us at our level in our schools are doing many things to make an action plan to bridge the learning gaps which have suddenly happened for some of them, and take the support of our students who have flowered in this time, who are ready for the role of a buddy, or and peer learning, collaborative effort will also come in good stead along with the teacher's personalized approach.
Right. Thank you, Veena ma'am. So taking from one of your points, Prakash sir, there must be quite a few students who have seen trauma during the lockdowns, right? So maybe they've seen their family members suffering from COVID. Maybe they've lost people they were close to. So how does the school, as a sensitive institution, try to help these students in terms of uplifting their emotional and social health?
Hey, namaskar. Good afternoon. ANJU ma'am and VEENA ma'am, they've already expressed about, one is the writing skill is one of the key thing what VEENA ma'am talked about. VEENA ma'am, ANJU ma'am already explained about, the school as a whole, what kind of positivity. ANJU ma'am, thank you for bringing that positivity. The subject was anxiety, but yes, I think you got, we lost our founder in the and it was a huge loss for our school. And if you look within each one of us gone through a severe kind of issues. There are people I've seen, they lost their jobs, parents are at home, children, especially if you look at, they love to go out, they would like to meet peers, have a lot of interaction. That part is completely gone out in the lockdown period. So there's some reports I'd like to share over here. The Asian Journal of Psychiatry, they have given the 74% of Indian students suffer the depression, high level of stress and depression. And it happens in every household, because for a certain period of time, parents can engage their students, engage their children. But after that, what to do, they don't know. So that was the main factor for parents to handle. They don't know how to handle because they have never ever gone through that kind of training to handle children at home. So after a certain time, what we have done in school, just to give you some insight, we done some kind of mentoring workshop for our class teachers, subject teachers. So, how to mentor students. So parents have the access of class teacher, subject teacher, school counselor. Fortunately, we have 11 school counselors because it's a big school. So we have 11 school counselor. So we have already, open all these ideas to the parents. And in June, we conducted a few workshops and we created different modules to give to the children. Is more like a project-based learning. Again, from individual perspective, there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages. We have tried out and found out that it's working. So this depression level, and there are some areas I would like to bring to your notice before I get into the learning part of it. One area, one aspect about their emotional health, especially the age group of 7 till 13, the emotional health completely gone down because the loneliness. Another report which has come recently, it's again by the Indian Journal of Psychiatry, it's been given the sadness, 30.7%, whatever study they have done, the sadness gone into this group of children. Anxiety is 36%, and the fear and apprehension because they saw they're losing their family member, and parents have that fear. It translated to the children, and consciously parent they decided not to send their children out. So if you look at this emotional health aspect is gone completely down, and that has been reflected in their studies as well. So that is one aspect which it actually to be looked at, and that is still going on. And even when school reopened, we went for 4 hours in the beginning. Then we opened from July onwards. We opened for regular school timing. We've been seeing that kind of fear, and that has been evident in the classroom. And more, many of the students taking the counseling sessions, and our class teachers, even parents are coming, how to handle their fear issues. That has been happening. The second aspect I would like to bring to your notice here, that children of grade 10 and 11, so they need some socialization. And what happened, the 2 years, they could not get time to do that. And now when school reopened, for them, the study is the secondary, for them to first find out, what kind of connection to be built up. So going out of the class, that is again a major issue for me in my school. But I told my teachers to be really compassionate, to take care of, if they are going out, bunking the class, call them, have discussion, find out, circle time. We're using different strategies to make sure, they're coming to the regular thing. Now, post-lockdown, one point which we have really emphasized for mentoring. Every week, the class teacher calling that 30 group of 30, we have 30:1 ratio, calling each student, not talking about the academic progresses, but we are talking about what kind of issues they've been facing. They're not disclosing those issues to their parents. So we are taking care of that part so that, students should get a lot of opportunity to self-express their views, and also, the teacher would get to know and connect to parents and help them out. So there are several issues. I think other panel member would bring a lot of other, issues, what has been happening in their areas. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Prakash sir. All right, so now also must be the time that teachers are getting a chance to evaluate the impact of online teaching that has been going on for all these months. What is your assessment? How have the results been? How have students performed? Anju ma'am?
So assessments, if you look at the test mode of assessments, it's a part of the whole. It's one of the aspects. Right. So then there is the whole other ways. There's the whole other compass of looking at what are we assessing? Do we value what we assess? And if we value what we assess, then we also value the way we assess it. So are we also assessing the child's physical well-being, the emotional well-being, the motor skill development? Are we also assessing learning gaps? So I can share with you our story, if it has meaning for others out there, that we've done a deep analysis of what we simply call gain and gaps analysis. So what have been the gains and what have been the gaps? Clearly, there are gaps. I did focus on certain gains, 3 or 4 salient ones. I'm sure there are multiple experiences here. There are gaps. Firstly, let me just mention here before I come to that is about teachers. Now, teachers too working in isolation. Whilst as a teacher and as a school, when you believe confluences, conferring, sharing of best practices, talking about and ideating about lesson plans together, actually calendaring those confluences in a proper timetable, which is the routine of the day, building a robust routine and a dailiness of that, all of that was quite compromised. And as Prakash said, the trauma has been, one of the most biggest equalizers in human history. So age agnostic, stage agnostic. So putting systems of pastoral care and response teams and well-being for teachers, that has been for the last 2.5 years, something we have tried very hard to do. A teacher who's stable and who reaches some point of calmness and peace can be of good use to the children or for the children or that environment. That being said, when the children have come back, we also notice how the parents are. And all of this is connected with assessments and evaluation because I truly can't see it compartmentalized. For the last 2+ years, the parents, what we have tried to conclude and reflect, and maybe it's not out of a research, but it's out of experiences. As parents, the parents have been in savior mode. They have to protect their child from this pandemic. There is no vaccine for this particular age group. All of that has come now, but even below 12, there isn't. So that has percolated, absolutely dispersed into all aspects of the child's life. We say share food, and the pandemic, the parents are saying don't share food. Just the values on which schools are built got so overturned. And other things, share your things. No, now you become boxed in, even if you're in a classroom. A child's elbow touches the other child's elbow on a table. So the value of coexistence and tolerance to rebuild and redesign that. And to just do some sessions for parents, which we have done, to help them feel secure and reassured that their child is safe in school and small aberrations will continue to occur. The entire growth and development of that child cannot be just the school system's only singular responsibility, and there's a whole learning ecosystem. That being said, I do believe that there are gaps. If I only focus on learning per se of domains, science, mathematics, language development, not students chatting and student conversing in articulate, fluent thinking sentences, face to face, is so different. And for 2 years, uninterrupted digital time, that's one. But I don't know how much of digital conduct they learned about and digital footprint they learned. Though we all attempted to do safety sessions online, digital courtesies, digital behavior, digital conduct, but it doesn't work as much as it does in an open school space, and the outcomes are visible. So we direct the training or sessions as per what is an immediate need. All of that is also leading to how assessments or remediation or accelerated program for those who have gone beyond just was a set curriculum. There are so many children who have gone way beyond it already, but sit in grade 4 because they are meant to sit in grade 4. Some of those self-limiting beliefs we have as school, which we have to, over a period of time, correct. So we are looking at the learning gaps, emotional gaps, developmental gaps, as well as children being so conscious of their body image. When they kept putting cameras off because they didn't like the way they looked. It wasn't only because they wanted to remain disengaged, that too. It was so easy to lie down and say, okay, I'm there, escape routes. But a lot of it is about body image. And I will pause at this moment because these are topics so close to our daily lives that we can go on at length.
With this, I would like to take a second to welcome Ms. ALKA KAPUR. Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for reaching out to me once again. So, we are all sailing in the same boat, and the anxieties, the challenges have almost been the same. Unprecedented circumstances have confronted schools to implement drastic changes, which have resulted in a rapid shift in online classes to an offline format, thereby assisting students and teachers to make appropriate plans amidst uncertainty. So they have been really uncertain. We have been very uncertain about what the outcomes will be. So, fret and stress were common experiences amongst the students, resulting in mental health challenges mainly. And all of the schools, I believe, across the globe have been addressing these students. I particularly did. Made a world record on mental health and well-being of the students, and there I realized what challenges the students and the schools, the parents, every human being is facing. So it's been very difficult for teachers or schools to address mental health problems due to hindrance in meeting students in person. Some teachers have not been able to identify the behavior which a student portrayed with the different facial expressions, because as ma'am said, they were so much conscious about their identity and the image that they did not turn on the camera. So when in person you are there, the body language could explain a lot, which in the absence of this physical meeting was lacking, and it became a big challenge. So students conceal their emotions because children and adults were consistently reminded to maintain social distancing, while which has led to altering introvert behavior and social anxiety also. So how we could do it and how most of the schools could address these problems was by holding regular meetings with the students and having daily conversation with the students, whether through small or big talks. I think it should continue because we see the impact till now, till date, when we've been on in face-to-face physical classes. They don't know how to write, they don't know how to conduct, to the extent wearing school uniform has also become a big task for them. So students should be made to feel better, and this behavior improvement has become a bigger task for the teachers than to impart academics or ensure academic um, uh, results. So these challenges are very, very important. So students checklist is something very important. By creating a student checklist means penning down certain hindrances, worries, anxieties, and other disturbances. Teachers could become aware of the anxieties the children are going through, and this will also help the teachers and the staff in the school to ascertain the uncertain triggers. Eventually this will assist teachers to understand the behavior so that they can work accordingly and resolve them. So I think restorative circle is also one good thing that is giving us good results, because we through this technique we are able to create a bond through equal participation that brings respect to sharing and listening. It also is helping us to reinstate any impediments or any issues that occurred on and off in the social boundaries. So I think that bond needs to be recreated once again, which was lost. The parents should also kind of mm, extend a helping hand in whatever the teachers and the school is trying to do, and vice versa. So the efforts have to go complementary with the parent, student, and teacher. So not just the teacher who's observing the child or who's controlling the child. I think each one of us must forget the barriers, the boundaries, that this child is mine. As a community as a whole, we need to extend that kind of support to the children in managing their behavior, which was ignored in the past couple of months. So we have to normalize that kind of counseling as adults of the community, as adults of the society. And prioritizing students' mental health should be seen as the biggest necessity. One way to perform this is to begin normalizing mental health circumstances through classroom practices such as check ins, counseling, journaling, all of that. Formal and informal ways have to be devised, and we have to be very, very active in encouraging students to participate in the activities that children were not actively doing, and ensure that they stay productive. It is suggested that getting away from the screens and engaging in activities such as yoga, sports, reading, and other intriguing hobbies is significant to deviate one's mind from boredom and loneliness. And schools should do it in a very big way, because I personally feel academics can still be taken care, but this behavior, this mental health and well-being should be the first priority to get the children on track. And why just the children? Even teachers have gone through the same. So as a community, as a big society, we should all encourage whatever is being said today. So communicating with people should also be encouraged, and children should be made to participate in intra school activities and enhance their connection with people um, who can express their emotions and affection in a similar manner, who can be empathetic and understand what children have gone through, because some children have actually gone through hell in the past. Why just again as children, even the teachers. So all those discussions should happen, and opportunities to engage in acts of kindness will promote optimistic feelings and give them a feeling of self-worth and being able to contribute to society and create a healthy community bonding is also a very good idea. So all of this should be encouraged to bring life to normalcy, and I think that's the need of the hour. So more will be said as and when we hear the others. So over to you, dear.
So, Alka ma'am, thank you so much for sharing your views on this. Could you just share a little bit of your observation as to how the senior students, especially the board classes, seem to be handling in-person examinations and in-person tests after these many months of studying from home?
It's been a great challenge. Students have actually forgotten how to write well, because all the time fair and unfair means were being used by parents, because not all parents are dealing things ethically. So it's becoming a big challenge actually to get them to the right track and make them understand how ethically they have to achieve. And it's not always very important to be a winner. Even being a loser at times teaches you a lot of things. And I think these 3 years gap has been a long gap, and we are giving them extra coaching, extra classes, and not compromising yet with the co-curricular activities, as in we are giving them the music, dance, and the recreational periods also. And teachers are trying to put them into practice, and the hands-on experiences that they are getting is working a bit on them. As much as I have seen not very good performance in with majority of children when it came to the board exams.
All right. Prakash sir, will you have something to say on this?
Yeah, regarding board classes, yeah, I totally agree with Alka ma'am. It's really a challenging job to bring though our result is really good for this time, but there are certain things which I like to bring to the table. The first thing what we have done, that we have not checked what children have performed for the last 2 years. So what we done some kind of analysis of learning gaps, and accordingly we created different modules, and we given the complete responsibility to the students, that you study the modules. There are mentoring groups, there are different groups run at same time before board exam. What I experienced, the students, they decided to stay till 5:30 till evening. They decided to stay. They would like to clarify the concepts. They wanted to go do more writing skill. Whatever we all been observing, the writing is one of the major challenge, and they all overcame with good understanding. That was one of the important, especially in physics and mathematics. The students, it never happens in overnight. It takes a lot of practice and thinking. So we have given a lot of time, and in their peer group, so what we done, in a group of 10, there's one child who is really good at physics. They have taken charge, so they decided a Zoom meeting. They clarified the concept. So as a teacher, suppose I'll go for 30 students, I'll not make that kind of impact. Whereas in a peer learning format, whereas they have taken responsibility, parents also given lot of opportunity. They have decided, like one parent for grade 10 taking that group of 10's responsibility, making sure they've been getting into those discussion mode, solving the questions. So in that way, we overcame this board exam. Going forward, if you would like to ask me what I've been seeing right now, the same thing been happening. If I do tell you the last two exams, if I'll go for only the board classes, what I found out, students have gaps, but we're not really looking at marks right now. We're looking at what are the gaps, what are the concepts, what are the learning outcomes they could not do well. So based on that, we now prepared our intervention, and students, again, we have given the same role to students. So they are putting a lot of effort to bring those learning back to, their understanding. Yeah.
All right, all right. So we know that the education system till now, for all these years, has been pretty much exam oriented, right? But very clearly, we all think that there are bigger issues, and you, being academicians, also have been very articulate about it, right? So, do you think some kind of a change in the overall approach is required, Veena ma'am?
Yes, Varidhi, I think it is high time we change our approach. We've already started working at it, And very, very clearly, we've seen that in the evaluation systems, etc., there was a lot of problems which happened, not only from parents' side, but also from the student side, especially the senior students. They found ways and means to, wriggle out, find an easier path with quick success, etc. And just to share with you, some of the students were also praying that this year also, like last time, the results would be just declared on whatever algorithm which the CBSE had decided last time anyway. But uh, yes, it has to be ascertained again that we need to, as per even the NEP 2020 suggests, we have to work at making our children independent learners, all of it. Anju ma'am said in the beginning that quite a few of them have become, but all of them. And we need to instill in them that they have to take charge of their own learning, and they have to go for the concept. They have to, the time is gone where you just could cram something and put it on the paper and get your marks. And wherever you see such things in your classrooms, I've already spoken to my teachers, anybody, any student, we need to engage with parents and put a stop to that. So time is short, because this year round we are not only working with this year's syllabus, but we are also working on bridging those gaps, which is a huge task for all the educators, all the teachers in the classroom. So we require time for that. So it's not about just completing your syllabus for the year and getting along with it. So it is very important that you go to the grassroots, clear their concepts, make them actually problem solvers and critical thinkers, so that in the longer run they come out as winners of the race. So that is the need of the hour. We already know that the CBSE or various educational boards are now digressing from the usual cram and write papers and going into more application and analysis, with the CUET coming for the higher institution, for admission to higher institutions of higher learning. We are focusing on the student, knowing what the student is doing, instead of just putting a book in front of him, cramming it all up and there write it on the paper. So that is not the time. So it is a time for collaboration. It is the time for peer group learning, buddy system, etc., which is very important, because alone a teacher in the class working for the students for this year, as well as bridging the gap for last 2 years, is a humongous task which is not possible. So cooperation of everybody would be required, including the parental engagement also. So I'm sure all the school groups like us, they are working with all the stakeholders for the well-being of the students.
All right. So I have one final point which I would request all of you to address before we wind the discussion up. So are there any permanent changes that have come up in the way schools are transacting lessons now after these lockdowns? Now, let's say the lockdowns strike again. How well prepared are we? What measures have we taken to ensure that things don't get disrupted?
One thing is there that now it is blended mode of teaching, learning is going to be there, whatever it is. I mean, we read about things are happening in West Bengal that, whatever happens, for example, too heavier rain or any extreme climate, etc. So we found a very convenient and an easy way to go online. And here also in school, when the school time is limited, where we need to do so many other things apart from academics, I think the blended approach will be there to stay, and the children have learned how to do it, the teachers know how to do it, and they are very, very enthusiastic teachers who do not mind going out in the evening for a couple of hours spending it with a smaller group who actually requires help. And parents are very appreciative of it. Parents have seen teachers work so hard and they're very appreciative of it. And the children also, they respect what the teachers, educators are doing for them.
All right. Alka ma'am, what will you have to say on this?
So I agree with what my friend VEENA GOEL ma'am said. I think we are on the same page when it comes to addressing situations when, if another lockdown is announced, because now this is a way of life. We must understand, not just because of COVID or any health reasons, it could be any climatic change, any environmental change, anything. So the hybrid mode of learning, the blended mode of learning has made the future much more secure for us, that no matter what the situation be, teaching and learning will not be compromised.
Since you asked a question, what are the permanent changes and which are here to stay, looking at the uncertainties of life, right? I think all of us, firstly, I also would like to say we are all talking of schools which are well endowed, privileged, with infrastructures, and which is barely 2% of this country. And then we have this whole demographic, or, the whole topography of this country, where we've also experienced a huge digital divide, and truly much has been spoken. So we know what has been the huge impact in learning, which is truly education being their passport for a better life, how that there's been a major setback. Coming to what I was saying, the two permanent things, there are some more, but two defining things: parents as pedagogical partners. We have discovered, especially in early years, in primary years, which are truly the foundations of school, where parents have been so invested and engaged. I think a lot of the online which we did for a 3-year-old to a 10-year-old would not have been successful if we had the sessions for parents to understand that classroom pedagogy and that learning environment that is being built through the means of technology. So parents as pedagogical partners, yes, their appreciation has grown because they've seen teachers live. I mean, the first time in education history, a parent had an insight into a classroom. You were open to scrutiny, criticism, some appreciation. It was very, very unnerving for teachers. Over a time, they got used to it. They got insights into bedrooms and drawing rooms, and the landscape of homes, which built a deeper understanding from where is this child coming. So sometimes uniformity in a school takes that away. The second thing I'd like to say is that it's easy for us to say that, and this is just what I believe, and that, we have a dust storm or we have a rainy day, we go online. But it's the harder thing, I think, and we are still trying to grapple with it, is something called digital pedagogy. Approaches to teaching and learning in a digital space which are so diametrically different in a physical classroom. Because finding apps and finding software is a smaller challenge, and that gap we bridged very quickly, all of us. But to have a sustainable digital curriculum and to deepen and strengthen it is a permanent impact of these 2 years of an unprecedented paradigm shift which we are going through.
Prakash sir, any final views you would like to share with us?
Right. Thank you. I think Anju ma'am has already given this pedagogical parent as the pedagogical partner. I'd like to bring two. It's not the change. I think we also started exploring that, how we can engage parents in a deeper way. The framework now been discovered. We had always, CBSE as a framework, but now if there is an uncertainty, how to work or what to do. One of my vice principals is retired yesterday. She was reflecting, she was sharing. She said, "Sir, I learned how to manage Zoom and how to, interact with students." If that is coming from a person who never, now teachers been trained, it is a uncertain period, but the way training, there is self-training. We just done one training on Zoom, how to handle it, what to do, when to call the students, what kind of timetable to be done. So all this been done by teachers. Teachers, they went out of that, square, that I have to go and only teach and I will have a very good lesson plan. But here your lesson plan is not working in the online mode. Here your best practices are not working. The students, they completely short their videos. You have to interact with people. You have to convince them. Now students being teachers and they are taking charge of your teaching learning process. So there are two important framework what we found out from this discussion. One framework is, unless until you lose your ego and to be as like a learner, you have to be a learner. Whatever learning, expertise you have to be a learner, and you have to go with the mass. Like the principal says that, you have to consult each and every student. So that framework been set now. And the second idea what came out from our discussion, which I would like to just make a second framework, that like every unusual situation to be dealt with positivity, you have to come up with your solution. Like this digital platform, we're still keeping in our classroom. Like every Wednesday, 3 classes we are keeping as digital. They're going early home, 3 classes they're doing because we're keeping alive. So any point of time, any such issue would happen, we will surely involve our teachers to do that. So we are keeping that training still on and we're keeping alive. And the last point I would like to bring to your notice that whatever we do, unless until we reflect, introspect, and bring the parent, teacher, students together in one platform and giving them a lot of space to take charge, I think then you will see that things are going really well, because there are a lot of criticism about the way teachers sitting, the students, there are a lot of criticism, but in that whole process, what happened, students, they have taken the complete charge of their life. There are a lot of positivity. Whatever negativity we are seeing, the depression and all, I think it won't take it will not be resolved in month or 2 months time. It will take years. But what we're seeing right now, students are coming more confident. They understand what is freedom, how to take responsibility, and how to make this world as a better place. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. With this, we will wind it up. Thank you so much.
Balji, if you give me a second to say something in continuation to what
Please, yes.
Madam Anju said, I think on a lighter note we can say, पहले हम लोग बोलते थे कि आपको फोन की क्या जरूरत है. Now with this digital divide, we tell every child, अरे आपके पास फोन क्यों नहीं है? So phone has become a very, very important part of our life. We can't deal with it without it. So thankfully, the underprivileged also, even a vegetable seller or a cobbler, they had a phone to themselves, and thanks to technology that we could sail through these rough times, and looking for a brighter future with technology for sure.
Of course, yes. Thank you so much, Anju ma'am, ALKA ma'am, VEENA ma'am, and Prakash sir, for sparing your time of your extremely busy schedules. And we would like to see you very soon again with another discussion like this. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Bharati. Thank you,
so
everybody.
Much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.